about how I think it's directly correlated to the immigration experience because our parents were in survival, so they only could work, and a lot of people experienced that where they didn't have a good, healthy role model to romantic love. So when they got into a romantic setting, they accepted any behavior.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to school. But don't worry, everything is cool. I'm your host, Jalissa, and of course, I am here. Actually, I'm just here with Stevie.
Wow, yeah, it's just me. It's just me, guys. So Brandon couldn't make it this week. It's okay. He's having fun. He's in. I don't know if I should I expose where he is.
Nah.
Right? He likes his privacy, but he's in a better
He's
place.
somewhere, but he's nowhere at the same time.
He's in a lot of places. You know what? He's in this room right now. You know why? Because we carry him in our heart. Yeah, but we also have a different setup. I wanted me and my sister to cry, so I felt like we needed to sit
Cry.
basically like
We're
nose to
crying?
nose. Yesterday, we're gonna talk about some serious shit. We're gonna talk about our trauma. We're gonna talk about what it's like to be siblings. And I hope you guys are having a good Thursday. It's a beautiful May. The Drake and Kendrick beef
Is over. No, just kidding.
is over.
I don't know if it's over, but
Kendrick is winning right now with They Not Like Us. You know, I've been replaying it. I've been going all in. Julie, I put you on. You hadn't even heard it, huh?
I had heard like snippets of it on like TikTok, and then I think also on Twitter. But then I had only like read the lyrics, but I never actually like listened to them. Until eventually, I don't know if you showed me first or I listened to them in the car, and then you showed me them. But I think you showed me them first.
Bro, I was with a group of friends and we were driving to a brewery, and then I got this text like as if like a nuke was coming to California. That was fucking saying like, bro, Kendrick dropped. And I told everybody in the car, I was like, bro, Kendrick dropped. And then my friend, he's like, he had aux, so he's like, okay, let me play it. And he played They Not Like Us. I remember I was headbanging and I was like, And then when he says the fucking trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor. Oh, that's a fucking bar, bro. That's a fucking bar. I was like, no way. It's over. And then, bro, that shit's actually a fucking banger.
It is. It's just
Yeah, right?
it's really catchy for sure. I was like, at work, everybody was talking about it for sure.
They played it the pregame of Dodgers. I saw that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They played it. They've been playing it everywhere. They even played it, I think, for like the playoffs too. No.
Drake's, yeah, and they played it during the commercial break.
Yeah.
Fucking Drake's probably killing himself, bro. That's crazy.
I saw a tweet that was like, "Not Like Us is #1 in Toronto," and then somebody was
damn.
like, "Damn, he hit the native land."
That's funny. But what's it called? It's funny because it's like a song that's kind of inappropriate to be like mainstream. But then again, when Tupac dropped his diss on Biggie Smalls,
Yeah.
that was also like a super inappropriate song, but it went mainstream too.
Yeah.
But anyways, getting into the meat of our podcast. It's a very special sibling-only podcast. I am, of course, joined by Jalissa. A lot of people don't know that we're siblings, which I don't get it.
Do y'all actually didn't know that? I was like, that shit was crazy. Well, at least I only heard it from one person that was like my coworker. And I feel like I don't talk about the podcast too much, but sometimes I do bring it up like here and there. And I feel like I've talked about it one time at least, or like a couple times that I do it with like my brother. I'm like my brother and Brandon, which is like our friend. And then
Damn, Brandon, you got downgraded from family to a fucking friend. Can you believe that?
He's the friend, bro.
And oh, sorry, Julie, I interrupted you.
No, yeah.
I'm a yapper now, Julie. We can finally yap, bro. I grew up with Julie. I've literally been so fucking excited since Brandon's told us he wasn't gonna be here, because you and me have never done a one-on-one podcast, and I feel like when you and me are one-on-one, when we're like either faded or like drinking, I feel like it's fucking hilarious. It's gonna be.
So?
Imagine it's like a boring
I'm
ass,
funny.
unfunny.
Am
You're
I
funny,
funny,
bro? Yeah, you're funny.
Am I?
But I think you don't open up to everybody. I think that it takes a while for you to really like let people see who you are.
Starts crying right now.
It's cause it's because you were hurt. And you put a machine on it starting. We're also enjoying a cold hard beer like Mexican Americans do because we are cold Mexican Americans.
But I was saying, yeah, they didn't know. I was like, what? And then I don't know. We also put a poll, which we'll get into in a little bit. But we put a poll, and I don't know. I think something happened where we were like, did people just not know we were siblings?
Yeah, right. Because it like got a lot of story views and shares, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? It's either that or people think we kicked off Brandon off the show.
Oh damn!
Yeah,
y'all don't like Brandon?
No, I don't think it's like that.
There's beef.
There's beef. No, there is fucking beef. There's fucking beef with me and Brandon. He did something unthinkable, unspeakable. He went on a fucking adventure without me.
Yeah, no, he didn't take us, bro. That's crazy.
And he has the audacity to be posting about it on social media. I fucking see those posts. I know what you're up to. And yet, no invite was ever said.
It should have been me. It should have been us.
What do you what do you think about people who hang out with their significant other all the time?
What do I think about it?
Yeah, your hot take. What do you specifically like? Is it cringe?
No. Well, because I'm like, they're your significant other, you know? They're like especially I think when it's fairly new, and I think you guys are really trying to get to know each other and like are very much in this like, you know, like the honeymoon phase. Like, I think it's a very exciting time to like just hang out and get to know each other for sure.
To be alive.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, I don't think there's a big issue with just always hanging out with them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a big issue. I think it just becomes an issue if you drop. I feel like if you drop like people who are closest to you.
Yeah.
Like, because like, okay, speaking from experience, right? Coming out of the closet right now, but not literal, not in a literal sense. I have a girlfriend. That came off wrong.
Speaking from experience.
Speaking from experience, since I've been with my significant other, I've realized that I have spent a lot of time with them, but I wouldn't say that it's become toxic because I still make an effort to hang out with my siblings, family, and my friends. Yeah. So I feel like there's a bit of trying to at least have that connection still alive with your friends, with your homies.
Yeah. It was interesting because one of my friends, when I first started like dating my boyfriend, one of my friends was like, I hardly see you, but she was like, but you got in a relationship. So I was kind of like, it was bound to happen. So she kind of was like she was like, you know, it happens. Like, you just want to see your boyfriend or like your partner a lot more, and it's fine. Like, she didn't feel some type of way. She was kind of like, it kind of just happens. She kind of just like accepted it. But for sure, I've always made time for like my friends. And like, I think that's like for sure one of, I guess, the healthy things is that making sure that you guys still have your own individual lives, you know, because I feel like, I don't know, I think that's really helpful to still know that you have like your friends and then you have your significant other. And also because like, I think you sometimes act differently with your significant other and your friends. So it's like a different type of openness that you have with them.
Is that fake? Is that toxic to act differently with your partner than you do with your friends?
I don't think it's complete. Like, I'm not saying like you're completely different. I think it's just more of like, there's a certain openness that I guess you have. Because who knows that maybe like this person could be like your future partner who's gonna actually like live with you a lot more, and like you're gonna have kids with them. And I don't think there's a certain degree where I feel like it could be like a little toxic, where it's like maybe it's easier to be, you know, like friends with people than with like in your relationship. It's a little more like actually toxic or something.
Well, because it reminds me of how people talk about how there's physical cheating and then there's emotional cheating. Can you emotionally cheat on your partner with a friend, even if you're not attracted to that friend?
I get no.
As a woman,
emotionally,
as a Latina,
like, do you mean like when you're complaining about your partner to your friends or something?
Yeah, or yeah. Like, I would say yes, and maybe even like other.
But you're talking about like if they were the same.
Like let's say an example. let's say you were faced with a problem in your life, whether it was because of your career or something familial, and you don't rant to your partner, you don't rant to your boyfriend or your girlfriend, but you run to your friends and tell them, even though you have trouble telling it to your significant other. Is it emotional cheating then?
No, because I feel like you have different relationships with people in the way you also just communicate with them. And I feel like sometimes it is a little easier to be a little more open to your friend. For sure, if like your partner found out, I think they would feel some type of way. Like I'd be sad because I'd be like, why is it that you're so open to like them, but you can't like tell me?
And then they're like, because you wouldn't understand.
And I'm like, damn.
Would you
I'd
really
be
start
hurt.
crying?
I would be hurt.
Sad
I
or
would
angry?
be hurt, but I don't think that's like emotionally cheating. But I'm just saying like it.
That's
I
the
would be
fucked up.
sad. I would be sad because I'd be like, why is it that like you can't, I guess, have that openness with me or like tell me like what's going on? Because then it makes me think like, are you not comfortable with like me? But
Do
also
you
like
even like me?
but also it's like I don't know. I think for me it's always like it's kind of like that. Like do you even like me kind of thing. But I think it's also like getting out of that mindset of like like I don't think he's really trying to disrespect you. I think he generally was just like the nearest thing was probably like his friend, and he just felt like maybe there was a similar situation that's happened before, and like it was just a little more easier to tell their friend than their significant other.
Okay, I can see that. I can see scenarios where that's
Yeah.
true. It's easier to tell your friend than your significant other.
Yeah.
I can see where that's true. I think that like for me, in my perspective, I feel like it's kind of fucked up because I think that you would think that your partner is somebody that you can confide with, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And if they run into their friends first, it's like, is there something
Yeah.
that I represent or that I bring out in you that you don't feel comfortable with?
Yeah.
Because I feel like then it gets serious. Then it's like maybe we're not compatible in that way, and that's a big, big red flag in my opinion.
Well, because I keep thinking about the thing of like not taking things like personal, where it's like I think there's a reason like they're telling their friend rather than you. Because I feel like I don't know how to fully explain it, but I mean I think there's for sure a different relationship that you have with a friend and your significant other. Of course, like one like you for sure love your friend, but like your partner, you also love them, but there's like that's a different type of love, right? And I feel like in certain degrees sometimes like certain things can happen, and for sure I think one is like maybe like disappointing your partner, right? Like that would hurt a lot, for sure would hurt a lot more maybe, or I don't know the amount of hurt that it would be if like some shit were to go down and you're afraid to tell your partner about it. But it's the same thing of like I think there's reasons behind it, and I don't think it's more about like you. I think it's just more about them and like what the situation might be. At least that's just how I see it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very mature response to what I'm asking. But I think I kind of wanted you to take the toxic route.
I'm not toxic.
I know, but just for the entertainment route, go ahead, Julie. Be like, no, fuck you.
It's
have no friends. He shouldn't even have Instagram.
No.
Why not?
Well, cause I feel like I remember. I feel like I remember people were like, "Oh, it's like fucked up to like hang out with like your significant other so much and all these things." But I'm like, but I feel like if they're really happy and like that's where they kind of want to be, like that's on them. Like I for sure, like if I were to be the friend, I think if I were to see that it was toxic, then I would tell my friend. I'm like, I feel like you're doing like too much and like you're not being yourself anymore. You're this completely different person. But I mean, again, like some people are really like ride or die for their partners. So some people have lost like, friendships because of their partners. And I think some people do it without actually like doing that intentionally. It kind of just happens.
I think that's reasonable though sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think all the time, but I think it's reasonable sometimes. Would you want your partner to tell you if you have like a toxic or a friend that seems like is not reciprocating the same energy that you are in terms of how you're maybe really cool with them and you're looking out for them, but maybe the friend isn't looking out for you and is more of a negative in your life? would you want your partner to tell you?
Yeah, I feel like
You're like, it's happened before. I've been there.
no, I don't think it's actually happened with myself personally, but I feel like if I were in the situation, I would for sure appreciate it a lot more that like they would tell me, because I think sometimes it's hard to accept the fact of like somebody is actually being fucked up to you, and especially like if you've been like lifelong friends or something, like for sure it's a lot harder to like let go of that friend because you kind of grew up with them and you mostly remember all the positives rather than the negatives with them sometimes. I think with friendships for sure, I don't know. I feel like with friendships you tend to kind of like, what's the word? You tend to kind of accept sometimes the way that they are because of like they're your friend.
Oh, for
like,
sure, for sure.
Like if they're fucked up to you, you're kind of like, it's fine. Like that's just how they are or whatever. Like you're more accepting of like who they are, because you're a little more understanding because you get to know them from like whatever's happening, because you're like, oh, like they had a fucked up like background or some shit, and
you know
like,
their lore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's a lot harder to like let them go. It's kind of like the toxic relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like it's hard to get out of it. And sometimes like again, like, like being like I guess in love with your friend, of like you love them so much that you're so blinded by like all the fucked up shit that they've done to you. And sometimes like having somebody new, which is maybe your partner, can be like, no, like that's fucked up. Like they shouldn't be doing that. And I think for sure that's like, it's hard to hear. I imagine that it's hard to hear for sure. But I think in a way, I would be very like appreciative, whatever, of like if he were ever to ever tell me that. Cause then I'm kind of like, because it's kind of like people seeing more of the outdoor, like you're in it already. So sometimes you're blinded by like what's going on. And I think having somebody else come in and kind of tell you that is kind of like, okay, like I didn't notice it, or it was there, but I just chose not to like accept it, or like actually like be like, okay, yeah, like that's actually what's happening.
Yeah. You need somebody objective to come in to show you all people's true colors. Yeah.
And I think I would also like, I guess the other way, where it's like if I am in, I guess, a toxic relationship, I would like my friends to also tell me that like, no, that's fucked up, or like you shouldn't be doing that. I feel like I've always told like my friends, I always ask them like, do we look fine? Like, is there anything that I'm not seeing that you're seeing? Because sometimes, again, like I say, like you're very much in it, so you're very blinded, and especially I think even more in relationships, you're more like in love, so you tend to forgive everything of like the negative and like the toxic part of it. And then when your friends meet them, you're kind of like, they're kind of like, no, like that's kind of fucked up. And I feel like because it did happen to me in high school, where I think I had my friend, especially one of my best friends, she was like, I felt like you weren't happy in the relationship, but she's like, but I felt like I couldn't tell you because she felt like it was kind of fucked up to kind of like say it, of like, not fucked up, but it was just more of like, because I was in the relationship and like it was my own thing, she was kind of more afraid of telling me of it. Cause I don't know, I forgot exactly why, but she was just like, yeah, she was just like more of like, I didn't want to tell you because I also didn't want to ruin your relationship. But she was kind of like, it felt like you.
But the relationship is ruining your peace.
Yeah. But it was more of like, I think too, because when I was in the relationship, I think I would sometimes try to be more positive about it. And like, I wasn't like fully happy in it, but I was more like, like I'm in this relationship and I'm trying to make the best out of it. And she saw that like I wasn't really, like I was doing too much work for the relationship. And she was kind of like, but I felt like because you were doing all of that, I felt like you wanted to be in the relationship. So she's like, so I didn't want to ruin what you kind of had and you were kind of working on. And she's like, but I knew that like he wasn't like that great, honestly. Like she was like, I didn't like him, but she was like, but you liked him. You seemed to like him because you were still trying hard to work for the relationship. And then I told her, and I was like, bro, why didn't you tell me that? I was like, I needed some help. And she was like, it's because like I felt like it was fucked up because I was like, because she's like, I know you were like working on it and like trying to do all these things. And she's like, but I felt like I didn't want to get in between you, and then maybe some shit actually happens, and then we kind of lose our friendship. And like I wasn't mad, like super mad to her about it, but I was very much like, I wish you would have told me, because like I feel like I was working on it, but I felt like those months just felt like what would be like lonely? I kind of wasted my time. Where I was just like, I was trying really hard to fix the relationship, and it was kind of like it wasn't going anywhere, and I really wasn't happy. I don't think she said that she saw that I wasn't happy. I think she just saw that like there was a lot going on that I was working towards, and like it felt like it was kind of starting to become kind of like a waste of it.
It was like a miscommunication. Yeah. There's a disconnect between you and your partner. Yeah.
And I was like, and I didn't see that. Like I didn't fully see that. I thought we were like kind of on the same page of trying to work for a relationship, or but if to her it seemed like it was a little bit more of me than like the other person. And so I was, and then I remember I told her, I was like, bro, why didn't you tell me? I was like, I wouldn't have taken it bad. I was like, I feel like it would have been super helpful. And she was just like, I just didn't want to like get so much into your relationship, because it was more of like you kind of being in it. And she's like, I didn't really see everything. Like I only heard the things that you would tell me, but it was kind of like, it was also like up to you to kind of have that decision, you know?
Well, I think that's hard, because I think that having so many women friends lets me know that every girl needs a bestie that tells them when their man isn't shit. Like that's just the truth. And I think that it one of the reasons why she's probably didn't tell you is confrontation sucks. Like it doesn't matter with whatever the context is, whether it's like confrontation to an abusive partner, confrontation to your friend, confrontation to your parent. Yeah. Either way, confrontation is scary, and I don't blame anyone for not wanting to do it. And you know what this is making me think about? This is a good topic. This is actually a really good topic. Why is it like that specifically Mexican Americans, and I guess you could include all Latinos, Mexicans accept a lot of toxicity in romantic relationships, and it's even fetishes. It's even fetishes. How do you say it? Me and my sister both can't speak English. But
fetishized? I don't know. Something like that. No?
It's even fetishized that you see on TikTok or Instagram, social media, anything. You see toxicos and toxicas. Yeah. Why is it that in our culture we romanticize abusive behavior? Where do you think that really comes from? Because a positive is that I think that our culture is very romantic. I think Latinos know how to love, and they love hard. Yeah. But I wonder why we specifically as a culture continue to always seem to encourage toxic behavior. And we seem to, and because of that, because I think it's a real problem. It's a real problem because we accept then toxicity in our relationships because it becomes normalized. We see it in our family, our parents, our friendships. We see it everywhere. And I wonder where it comes from, and I wonder why people continuously like push that. Because I don't think we've ever actually talked about this on the podcast. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody have discourse over this. But I wonder that too, because I mean, having been around a lot of Latinos and Mexicans, I know that that's something that some people even kind of like. Yeah. Like, I won't say the name of who said this, but I remember, you were there. I don't know if you remember who I'm talking about, but somebody said, I don't want a good girl. I don't want some boring good girl. I need a girl who's going to be toxic. Do you remember this? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't remember that. No.
Well, it was someone in our family said that. And I wonder, like, do you think it's just that a lot of Latinos experience generational trauma and trauma from being immigrants, like immigrants' families? So I think we become used to that type of behavior where it's like Stockholm syndrome. We kind of learn to love it.
Yeah, I think for sure a lot of it is just like, I think a lot of us, or at least like the older generation, I feel like didn't grow a lot with like having a good example of what a relationship is. And for sure, I think even with like immigrant parents, like I think, because for sure when, at least the story that I can say is that like when they come here, like especially like our parents, like they came here to just like work. And I'm this is not saying like I'm toxic or anything, but I mean there is some trauma to that of like me not having my parents there for me. And I think especially for them, like our parents didn't have their dads, you know, and they didn't get to see an example of like what a loving relationship is like. To them it was for sure a learning experience the whole entire way since the moment that they met to like now. I think has been an overall like learning experience for them. And I think me personally seeing that, I think really taught me a lot of like what I want to tolerate in a relationship and what I don't want to tolerate in a relationship. But I think for sure, like the older generation, like if they have similar stories of that, of like their parents not seeing an example of what an actual loving and healthy relationship is like, I think that's really like the biggest thing that gets to them. Um, and I think that's why there's just a lot of that. And I think, remember how we said, like, when people are in healthy relationships and they feel like nothing crazy is happening, they feel like there's something wrong with their relationship because they've been so used to, like, the toxic stuff or, like, some shit always, like, going crazy, right? And I feel like a lot of people, in a way, get kind of, like, I guess, addicted to that, where it's just, like, the rush of it all. That they don't, I feel like some people probably don't notice that it's very much like not that they enjoy it, but it's just like they're so used to it that they're like, it's the most familiar thing, you know? And I think that's why a lot of people kind of like crave it because it's like, again, like when it's the healthy part and they don't see that, they see it as boring when it's like, when it's actually like, it's an actual healthy relationship. Yeah. And I think for sure the other part is like the like telenovelas that we watch where they're like super like unrealistic expectations of like certain things. And like even in novelas, like a lot of them talk about like it's always like, right, like the main characters is always like a woman and like the guy, right? And it's always like there's always this one girl who was like first in love with a man, and then like she's always trying to get into the relationship and shit always hits the fan because like they can't get together, but they keep trying to fight for each other. But then some shit happens where like the evil girl gets pregnant with like the guys, and like it's always just very much like twisted, and like there's always just like some shit going on where like they're like there's even some where it's like there's cheating involved, but yet they're still like fighting for each other and all these things. And I feel like especially when you don't have like parents to kind of see the examples, you kind of take the shows that you watch as the examples that are kind of like raising you of like what you kind of want to see in your relationship, or like things that you imagine will happen to you kind of thing.
Well, people get with what's familiar to them. But I also think that not only is it a stereotype, it's a fetish, and people often play into those fetishes without even realizing that they're basically being what's the word? That they're basically being like demeaned. Like there's a stronger word for it. But like what's the word? I can't think of it. But you're basically playing into that stereotype, and I think that's where it becomes dangerous because you continue to spread this like stereotype that harms our community. Because I think that all it does is harm our community. All it does is make people become abusive, make people normalize abuse, make people become happy with being in shitty situations, and that's why I think it needs to stop. But also
and I was gonna say, well, because I knew somebody who was very vocal about like how she hated that like everybody always called themselves like, oh, like soy tóxica, soy tóxico, because she was like, it's very much like you're giving into the stereotype of like that's how we are. And it's like for some of us that's not how we are. Like it's just trauma. Like it generally is just trauma that like causes some people to just be like that. And I think for sure, I think now I guess being in like a interracial relationship, I try not to be in that because like my boyfriend has told me that people have told him like, oh, you're dating a Latina, I heard that they're crazy.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
crazy.
and I remember I was just like, damn. And then I always ask him, I'm like, do you think I'm like crazy? And he's like, no, you're really chill. Like, he's like, you're like super chill. So like, I don't get where like it comes from.
He's
But
telling
that's
you
like,
what you want to hear. I'm just kidding.
I know.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna fight him. No, I'm just kidding. No,
He's lying. That's
Watch.
crazy.
They'll be like, oh, she's toxic. She about to fight him, bro. No, yeah, but like, but to hear that sometimes.
Is it hurtful?
Yeah, well, because I feel like it is. Like, I'll admit that it actually is, because I'm like, because it makes me think, like, am I? Like, am I actually? And especially now, because, like, I'm in therapy, and I'm like, am I crazy? Well, because it makes me think even more, like, am I crazy? Like, am I toxic? Like, but I'm like, but I feel like those things are very just like the stereotype of everything, which is, but it is hurtful for sure when like, you know, that it could be like maybe his friends or like his coworkers. I know it's I don't know who exactly it's been, but like, it's just like, he's told me that people do tell him like, oh, you're dating a Latina, like she's not crazy or some shit, or like or like I heard that they're very like, I don't know if he said, no, I think he said like crazy or some shit. And I remember I was just like, I asked him, and he was like, no. He's like, I think you were like the chillest person ever. And like, and to me, it was just very much like, I guess at the time I was kind of like, where does it exactly come from? Like, where the whole craziness and like the whole toxic thing comes from. But then I think for me, I think it for sure, I guess, affected me in like, I guess, questioning myself of like, am I actually like crazy, or like, am I actually toxic?
Well, that's one of the problems that I think that it does, is that for a lot of Latinas out there who are trying to heal any trauma that they have, it belittles their struggle and makes them feel like they're back to square one, because everybody has that perception of that. It's not just a stereotype, it's almost borderline racist sometimes, the way that people treat and think of Latinas. And I think that's one of the problems, is like, because I see it, I know it hurts, bro. Like, I could literally see it on your face, especially now that I'm sitting right in front of you. But like, I see it like that. Yeah, bro, because I mean, at least for me, like the toxicos, but maybe this goes for all dudes. I think that usually like stuff like that, like, oh, like Latino men, like they're super Rizzler and they're super smooth. Latino men are super smooth. So like a Latino is always like smooth. And like, even though I wouldn't say that I'm not smooth, but I could see somebody who's in my position with my heritage take kind of offense to it, because they don't feel like that. So in a way, it's like they're not living up to that standard, and they feel like they're less of a Latino. Do you get what I mean? I think that I could see that easily be made an argument, especially because I know a lot of like introverted, shy Latinos who do not fit that stereotype of the super suave, like Rizzler. I keep using Rizzler. I hate that I'm using that word because we're having such a serious combo. But
yeah, no, I feel like, because I think it for sure was really hurtful, because I feel like in certain situations when I feel like I'm having the normal feeling of like, I'm just mad at him because like I'm generally like, he did some shit and like maybe I'm just mad at him, it makes me think of like,
your feelings are invalidated.
Yeah, like is it that now he thinks, or like if he were to tell his friends, and then his friends are maybe like, oh, well, you already know how Latinas are, like, and like, to me, not that he said that, but I'm just saying, like, that's what I imagine. Like, if his friends, if he were to tell like some shit is happening with like his friends, or like me just being, I guess, like emotional or some shit, like, and he tells his friends or something, and then his friends are like, oh, well, you know how Latinas are, like, or like, maybe she should go to therapy or some shit.
Bro, because think about how that would sound. And I hate doing this because comparing struggles is never cool, because obviously people experience different things. But I'm using this more as just an insight example. It's like, imagine if the other way around, like, imagine if you were a black woman and somebody was like, oh, she's a black woman, you know how they are. That's fucked up. That's like borderline racist. And like, I don't blame you for taking like offense to it. Because it's so normalized, bro. You see it on Instagram, you see it on TikTok, you see it on Twitter. Everybody's like, I need a Latina who's gonna hit me and lock me in the basement. And I'll admit, it's a little funny. It's a little funny, but it's that type of humor where, oh, I'm laughing because it low-key hurts, but the laughing is my coping mechanism.
Well, because I feel like in a way, when I started hearing like toxica and all that, like, I feel like at a certain point, I think people were kind of trying to like, I guess, change the wording to it, where they were trying to make it funny. Like they were just like, we're trying to laugh because like this is some shit that they say that we are, but we're trying to be funny, haha.
Like
but reclaim. I think of like reclaiming it. But I think eventually it just became like actually like people were being fucked up about it. And I think that's where it happened, because like now it's kind of like everywhere where I think people say it and like it's just really fucked up now.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And especially when it's like, I don't know, I guess outside of like the culture, where it's just like that generally is how people see us now, especially like, I guess to be a woman, right? It's like they already say that we're already like emotional and all these things, but then to have like something on top of like, oh, you're toxic, where it's just like, that's just not who I am, or like I don't like, I think that's just like the big fucked up part is that, and to hear that like my boyfriend like gets that, is that like, so that's already the mindset once people meet Latinas. And I'm like, that's fucking crazy that like, especially like to whoever like said that to him.
You're like, fuck you.
No, but I was just like, bro, like that's generally like what you guys think. And I don't know if they were also Latinos or like if they were also white. Like I don't know what they were, but it was just like to think that like he said that he's dating a Latina, and one of the things that they said is like, oh, she's not crazy, like, and I was just like, that's insane to like just say.
Yeah, well, I think it's another avenue to invalidate women's struggles, because now the stereotype is just true.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I didn't do something bad. You're just toxic. You're just a toxic guy.
And it's like, and it's like, if
I can tell you're really pissed about it, bro.
Well, yeah, because I'm like, well, also because it's like, because some people actually fetishize that shit too.
Well, some people will seek that.
No, yeah, because some people, because I know like the not, I don't know if it's still current, it maybe still is, but like the older thing was that like, oh, like Latinas are very like, I think you say like spicy or some shit, like they're very like that's this crazy. And blah blah blah, and I was like, and I think if you want to date a Latina because of the fact that she's maybe like toxic or like spicy or whatever, like, and she's not, and then that's not what you're looking for, I think that's really fucked up, because then you're just using them for some shit that you've heard that like this is how they act and this is how they are, and like when that person doesn't turn out to be that, I think that's where it
makes them feel like they're less of. Well, I don't know if this is what you're going to say, but I think this is the problem with that stereotype, is that people often who don't meet that stereotype, because it's so normalized and people think it's true, they often feel like they're less of a Latino or less of a Mexican or less of their culture.
Or they're just boring.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
Just like, they're just boring. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, they're just like, she's just boring, bro. There's nothing there. All this talk about how Latinos is not true. Like that's what I imagine would be like the talk. But I'm just like, I don't know. But I'm like, that shit is crazy though. I was like, damn, they for real said that.
And then you're.
I don't know if my boyfriend wanted me to expose that, but I was just like, that was just some shit.
We're looking right into your fucking soul, bro. But yeah, guys, come on, let's chill a little. Let's fight back. We're losing. Let's fight back a little. I already know everybody's gonna be mad. Like, people hate when you talk about like anything that oppresses our people, because people want to be blind. People want to pretend.
Why do we accept that shit though? Why do you think we're so easy to just accept those kinds of things?
I think it's like a scarcity mindset. I think because a lot of people come from immigrant families, we become very satisfied with whatever we get, even if it's a little. So I think that when a lot of Chicanos, Mexicans, Latinos face oppression in the United States, it's so easy for us to get backlash for even unveiling that from our own people, because people have been so used to, bro, just accept that you're here and accept what you get and accept that this is a good life because we get so little. And that's why people are so afraid to ever talk about whenever there's any oppression on Latinos. And I think that's why people accept that, because then people who believe that push it down on their children. And I don't blame them, because as an immigrant, you're in survival and you're just lucky, and you're not lucky. You feel lucky to get whatever you get from the United States. And I think the American society does such a good job of pushing you to assimilate. So pushing you to join American society to eventually become like the white man,
Yeah.
become like the white Americans. And like I said before, I don't hate any white people. I'm just telling you what the experience as a Mexican American is in this country, and that it's that our own people want to be white sometimes. And I don't blame them, because obviously if you're white, you get white privilege, and you get seen as an American, and you feel like you're safe, and there's a foundational protection around you here that was set by our Constitution. So I think that it's deep. I think it's genuinely deep. I think that you see it in waves, especially in the older generation.
Yeah.
And they try to pass it down to the newer generation. But we do a good job. We do fight a little. Sometimes over this dumbest shit, like the Latinx thing. Like I think it's so stupid. Like I think like I understand, and I respect people who don't like Latinx, but the amount of discourse around it is absolutely fucking boring. And is fucking has been beaten into the ground. And we've talked about it to the fuck ton, so I'm not gonna talk about it too much more. But I think that in of itself shows you like how strongly people are like afraid of fighting the status quo, and fighting like whatever the old generation is teaching the new Latinos. So I think it goes deep, bro. I think even what you were saying about the toxicas, I think that's deep. I think I was agreeing to what you say about how I think it's directly correlated to the immigration experience, because our parents were in survival, so they only could work, and a lot of people experienced that, where they didn't have a good, healthy role model to romantic love. So when they got into a romantic setting, they accepted any behavior. Because when you don't have role models, you obviously just go off the seat of your pants, and you don't know what's right or wrong. So all around, I don't blame people for why they are, but once you become aware, and if you do a good job of spreading that knowledge to other people, then you're going to be fucking mind blown with just how much you can heal and how much you can actually have a healthy relationship with others. Yeah. But yeah, my little rant. But Julie, let's get into the podcast. I mean,
I thought we've been in.
We have been in. But we specifically did something for this podcast. We asked you guys out there if you guys could ask us some questions, because it's a sibling only episode.
So we put the prompt, what questions do you guys have for us? And I guess one of the ones is, what do you most appreciate about your sibling? What have you learned from them?
Oh, damn, this is where we're about to cry. Let's see. What have I most learned from my sibling? I think you've taught me. I think you've taught me. Wait, say the question one more time. Now I forgot.
What do you most appreciate about your sibling? What have you learned from them?
I think your calmness, and I think that you do bring. Damn, this is looking gonna give me.
Well, we'll get into the funny ones just to like.
All right. But I appreciate your calmness. I think that sometimes when I'm having a bad day, you kind of just like are in your own world, like you're kind of in your own mood, and I think it's cool because it feels very refreshing. It feels very much like I can forget about what was going on in my day and just kind of chill with you, and we'll talk about anything. We'll talk about the Kendrick Drake beef. We'll talk about like a funny thing you saw on the internet. We'll talk about what like funny thing our mom or dad told us about, and I think I really appreciate that because it's very refreshing. Like you don't try to bring in you do a good job of not doing what I think our parents did, which is where if they were having a shitty day, you try to spread it to us for some reason. I think you do a good job of not doing that. And I know sometimes it's hard because I know obviously shit affects you in your life, but I think you do a very good job of really trying not to like, if you're in a bad mood, you're going to make me in a bad mood. You know, it's more like if you're in a bad mood, you tell me you're in a bad mood and I try and cheer you up. And I think I appreciate that because it teaches me the virtue of patience and kindness. And so, yeah, that's one of the things. Yeah.
I would say, I think for sure, because you're saying that shit, I was like, I feel like
that shit, that stupid, boring ass shit.
No, I was just like, I think because the first thing I thought of, I think for sure is that like, I guess you listen to me when I'm like ranting about some shit that's like probably going on. But I think I'm more appreciative of just like how I guess we're easily able to, I guess, talk to each other. Cause I feel like, I think it's just really easy. Like, I think I don't notice it how easy it is, but it just is. And I get like we're siblings, like it should be easy. But I feel like that's not
That's not true for
that's
everybody.
not true for everyone. Yeah. And I think I think just appreciate that like you listen and like, because I feel like, again, and I think I've talked about this, where like I think I'm so much in my head, where like I feel like you kind of bring me to be a little more like logical and realistic of certain things. So it helps me a lot to just like talk it out, which is why I think when some shit's going on, I have to tell you, because I'm like, bro, help me.
Yeah.
And I think I really just appreciate that like you help me in that aspect. Um, and I feel like it for sure has changed, like for sure when we were like little to like now, because I mean we're adults now and like shit happens a lot more to us. But I think another thing is that I've learned through you is that like being more realistic, and again like I think it's taught me to also not take things personal.
Yeah.
Because I feel like before I used to, and that's why I was always so angry and like I fucking hated life, because I was like, life hates me. and I was like, I hate everything about it. But I feel like because of the fact of like our talks and like just everything, it's helped me to be more of like, that shit's not personal. Like it's just like she's just kind of like that. And I think I've just been appreciative of that fact of like us being able to communicate that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's hard, especially when it's your family. But I feel like with you, it's like super easy just to like say whatever's going on. Because it's for sure hard, especially with our parents, like to tell them, right? Like some shit that's going on, especially because with them, you have to translate everything. Like, you know, they speak Spanish and it's like, it's a lot harder to, at least for me, I feel like it's sometimes harder to have them understand what's going on. And I feel like with you, because I mean, we can communicate in English, and that's like a lot more easier for me to kind of communicate my feelings through that. And I feel like it makes me feel good knowing that I'm communicating those feelings to a family member. Like it's not just like my friends that like I can count on them, but I feel like I can also count on like my family. And that's for sure something that I for sure appreciate, that like I'm able to do that. And I've learned a lot.
That's deep, bro. That's deep. I feel like we could go on a whole other part about what you just said. Cause
No, yeah.
No, I will move on because the segments about that. But there's something you said. Okay, I'll just say a side note really quickly, and then I won't elaborate more. But I think that's so true. I think as Mexican Americans, a benefit of having a sibling is that you have somebody in your family that's easier to communicate, especially if your Spanish is a little broken and you can't fully confide in your parents. Yeah. Obviously, you should probably learn Spanish and you should try and better it so that way you could have a full relationship with your parents. But I think it's a scary, what's the word? It's a scary, uncomfortable conversation to know that because your Spanglish as a Mexican American is a little broken, you can't fully explain things to your parents on a personal level. Yeah. Like whether that's if you're struggling in a career, struggling in a romantic relationship. Yeah. But one benefit of having a sibling is that you can have that full on convo because you guys speak at least one language perfectly together. No, perfectly is a reach because we do not be speaking good English. Even that sentence, we do not be speaking good English.
We struggle in both languages. But no, because it made me think of like there was a certain situation that happened, and I tried telling like our mom about it, and it was hard because like I feel like I couldn't find like the words to like, I mean I told her like everything that happened, but I couldn't like I felt like I wasn't fully expressing what I wanted to express. I still kept trying the whole entire time. Like the whole entire conversation that we were having, I was still trying to have her understand. Cause it's also like that thing of like, I told her and then she tried to tell me like a lesson. And it was like, well, why are you like this? I won't say exactly what it was, but it was kind of like I told her, and then she was kind of like, well, why do you feel like, why is this going on? Why are you acting like this? And it was more like, I felt like she was starting to blame everything on me. And I was kind of like, no, like that's not the issue that I'm trying to say. And so it happened, and I answered her questions, but I kept trying to be like, no, but like, this is what happened, and this is how I felt about it. And I felt like it wasn't fair for this to happen, right? And like I kept trying to talk to her and communicate. I was like, I need to tell her like exactly what is going on, because I'm like, I don't want her to think that like it's just me complaining about something. Like, this is generally something that, like, is affecting me. And, like, I need her to know. And so I just remember the whole time I just kept struggling. I was like, fuck, like, how do I make her understand that, like, this is what I'm feeling? And so I feel like sometimes communicating to them is a little hard. I think for sure that's the one thing of, like,
the language barrier.
I think when you tell them something and they think that, like, they turn it into like something else, or like they try to teach it into a lesson or something, and then it's like, no, but that's not the point that I'm trying to make. And I think with that, it's just like, and I'm not, and again, like, to me, I'm not saying that I don't tell my parents, like, again, like, I do. And I think this was for sure the first time that I felt like I fully was able to communicate my feelings of, like, this is what's going on, this is what I feel. And I feel like I did get back what I wanted, like, because I was like, I'm not leaving until you fully understand what's going on. And so then, and I think that moment where I was just like, okay, like, I was just like, but I couldn't do it. I was struggling so hard with my, not that I can't speak Spanish, I can. Like, we grew up, like, that's our first language and kind of thing. But it's just like sometimes communicating the actual emotion and the feeling of it is sometimes hard.
It's lost in translation. Yeah, I get you. But I think it, at least hearing what you're saying, sometimes I think it goes beyond a language barrier. And I think that parents themselves, especially if they come from an immigrant background, struggle with their own trauma, and it makes them hard to fully understand the concept that you're trying to explain to them. But luckily you have a sibling, and then that's where the benefits, because I could be like, oh, I get what you mean, bro. I feel you. I see what I'm picking up what you're putting down. I get you.
And I think because of the fact that we kind of grew up, I mean, we're siblings, so we grew up in the same household, so we grew up seeing the same things. We probably lived, like, differently, but we probably, like, we went through the same thing. So you know what happened in our background of, like, this some shit.
You don't need to explain the lore. I get you.
You're like, I already know.
Even right now what you were saying, I was like, bro, that's just her trauma coming up. But go ahead, Julie. Read me the next one.
Well, the other one, I guess, I don't know if you guys already know this, but somebody was like, how old are you guys? We're just 2 years apart. 27.
Why did you have to think about that?
Because I always forget my age, bro.
How do you forget your age?
I'm always like, well, I was going to say 28, but it's because it's like at the end of the year. And I'm like,
how does that happen?
And then, I don't know, I just forget. Sometimes I just want to be like, I'm 25. So but I'm not 25 anymore.
What if I'm like, I'm actually 17? How would that sound?
17?
Yeah.
Sure. I'll believe you.
How does that happen? Is it because of the pandemic?
Probably.
You lost those few years?
Yeah. I was like, I got stuck at what? I was 24 maybe when it happened.
You can't even remember that age.
Yeah, I can't, bro. I'm telling you. I just can't.
Is it as
after, I think after, like, legit, I think after either 24 or 25, I lost track of, like, how old I was. I think maybe 23, actually.
I was going to ask.
After 23, I, like, lost, like, how old I am sometimes.
I was going to ask, is that just, like, a thing that comes from being older? Like, am I just not there yet?
I think it's just me.
I'm the special one. I'm the main character.
I'm just the one who's very forgetful about all this shit.
And for those of you mathematicians out there, she said we were 2 years apart. She's 27. How old does that make me? Let's give them time to think.
Dun, 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 dun.
If you said 25, you are correct. I am 25 years old.
I was trying to do the song. I don't know if that was the right tune.
I don't even know what song that was, bro. Okay, but next question. That was a simple. That was a that was a softball.
Somebody was like, "Do you think the babies of the family get the most love?" My sister hates me for that. LOL.
First, sneak this. Second of all, Julie, what do you think?
I think so. Cause you the baby, bro. You the baby of the family. I think for a while I was mad at that shit. I was like, man. Well, because I was always mad that, like, I was the middle child and especially the only girl. So, like, the youngest one was always, like, babied. But then the oldest one, because he was always the firstborn, like, he was always like, oh, my God.
But you're the girl. You're the only girl. That's not true. You're the only girl. It'd be different if I was a girl.
Yeah. But then I was just like, I know I was treated differently from my brothers because I was the only girl in, like, certain parts where it was just like, because I was the only girl, there were certain things, right, that I kind of had to do where it's like cleaning, all that shit, right? But then there was the other side where like I was very much spoiled, where I was getting kind of like the princess treatment because I was the only girl. But that was very dependent on who was like with me, because I think my dad was the one who gave me the princess treatment, but my mom is the one who gave me the no, you gotta cook and clean and all these things. So I had mixture of things.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was hoping you asked me this question because I had an interesting topic. Do you? Let me deliver this correctly. Let me deliver this correctly. Do you think Mexicans treat their sons better than they treat their daughters?
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I want to say yes, but but I feel like it's because I think with the men in the household, I feel like it's very much more, I guess, accepted, or like, what's the word? Like,
Accepted?
they don't get like the harsher. Like if you were to do something, I feel like you wouldn't get like the harsher side of everything. Like if I were to do the similar thing that you did, I think I would get the harsher punishment, because it's like, oh, you're the woman, like you shouldn't be acting this way, or like something like that. And I feel like in certain households, I think for the men, they let that shit slide sometimes, where it's just like, oh no, like he's just being a dude, like that's fine. Like I think that happens a lot. And I think that's where it's seen that they're treated a little more better because of that. Because I have heard that people are like, oh, like, you know, moms baby their sons a lot. And I feel like I can semi see that. I don't know if like we have that, because I feel like mom kind of treats us all kind of the same. It's just more of like in some gender roles she's a little different. But I feel like it does seem like sometimes, at least in other things that I've seen with other families, that they are babied, because it's always like, you always hear, especially like, again, like the mom doesn't like the daughter-in-law, like because she's like super involved in all these things. And it's like, I think it's that thing again of like the trauma of like, because you raised the son and now there's another woman coming in, she sees it as like, well, you're not going to treat him as good as I did, kind of thing. And I think that's what happens. Yeah. I think that's what happens a lot with like, I don't know if it's specifically just the Latino community, but I feel like I have heard that a lot for sure.
It's not just gross. It's kind of nasty.
Yeah.
I basically the same shit. It's not just gross. It's kind of gross. I mean, like I've heard that too. Yeah. I've heard that people say that there's this weird, almost like moms think they're basically the only woman in their son's life, and it's gonna stay that way forever. That shit makes me want to gag. I feel like that shit's disgusting. But
I think in certain things, I don't know. I think for sure, I think men sometimes in Latino households get like
special treatment.
Yeah, special treatment sometimes. But I mean, I know women also get their own, but I think men get it a little more of like their own special treatment. Like again, like I feel like if we were to do some shit, I think I don't know why. I don't know what the reason would be, but I feel like I would get more in trouble than you. And I don't know what that specifically is. I don't know if it's because it's more of like, I don't know. If we were to say like,
you snuck out.
Yeah. For you, it's fine. But I think for me, I think it's also like they think about like the dangers of like me being a woman and being out and about, and like how does that look, right? Which is why I'm kind of like, I don't know where it comes from, but I feel like it does seem that exists. Like it exists, yeah. Where it's just, it would be like, why is it that like he doesn't get as in trouble as me?
Yeah. I think we're struggling with it because I think our parents, even though they weren't like perfect, they also weren't like, I think, super gender conforming in that sense. Like I don't think they were really oppressive towards us. We had good parents, guys. We had pretty good parents. They weren't perfect, but
yeah,
they didn't like fucking, they weren't like the Harry Potter parents where they fucked us up under the staircase.
Yeah.
Or fucking what's like a famous shitty parent? What's a famous shitty parent couple? Can you think of any? You're telling me there's no parent?
Parent? Damn. George Lopez.
The real, like his real parenting style, or you mean the show?
The show.
Oh, you think he's a shitty parent?
On the show, he's really fucked up to Carmen, bro.
Oh, he is kind of the perfect example of like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like Max can basically do anything.
Yeah,
and then fucking
that's
Carmen.
what I'm saying. I'm like, that's the thing of like, they let Max do like whatever he wants, but then like Carmen is like the one who gets like in the most trouble or whatever.
Hey, bro, say what you want about George Lopez as a person, and he's done a lot of fucked up shit. I'm not defending him. But honestly, he does a really good job of showing the Mexican-American experience because if you look at the show, it's kind of ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It touches on themes about traumatic, generational trauma. Yeah. It touches about, like, what it's like to have that as a father. It talks about gender roles in a Mexican-American family. It talks about assimilation. Yeah. It's kind of ahead of its time, guys. We grew up watching it, and I felt seen. I felt like that's me. That's my family.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of it does talk about, because even like he has his mom there, and his mom was a single mom who's an alcoholic, and like there's all these things, and like she's really fucked up to him, and you kind of learn why he's also fucked up to his kids, because it's like that's all he knows, you know. Yeah. And I think it's also that thing of like he doesn't want his daughter to be like his mom, but he doesn't know how to like raise her either, where he's like, no, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. And I think it's also because she's the oldest, you know, like Max is a little kid the whole entire time for the most part, so it's like you don't get to see at least that side of eventually when he grows up, but it's like he kind of does get the special treatment sometimes because he's also the baby, you know.
So, that's what now you just remind me.
There you go.
So now it's my turn. It's my turn to say my thoughts. Okay. So what was it?
Do you think the babies of the family get the most love?
I felt loved, guys. I'm sorry, controversial opinion. As the youngest in my family, my parents loved me. They loved me a lot. But, if you think about it logically, right, removing your emotions from it, you can't blame parents because, and this is going to sound fucked up. I'm warning you. But they have more experience by the time they have the baby, the youngest. So they saw their mistakes. They saw where they fucked up. And they fixed those mistakes with the youngest. I'm sorry, guys. I don't make the rules. But my parents loved me very much. And therefore, I grew up and became perfect. And therefore, I've never made a mistake. And therefore, my life is perfect and nothing bad has ever happened to me. No, if you guys can't tell, that's sarcasm. You can't tell because you don't see my face. But sarcasm. Are my babied? Are the youngest babied? I think that we're treated differently, but babied is a strong word.
He doesn't want to accept it.
I don't want to accept it. And you know what's funny? Because you said that when you were younger, you felt like you were more angry about it. And we have a nephew, and if I was babied, it stopped when he was born. So I haven't been babied for a long time. But now he's the baby.
Were you mad?
This is exactly what I was going to touch on. I wasn't angry, but I was a little sad. I was like, but it happens. It's common. Yeah. I just didn't know it would happen while I'm like a grown man. But I also love my nephew, so I'm like, no, I want him to have a good life and feel like he's loved and babied. But I did feel like odd. Like I remember I did when I was no longer the baby in the family. I felt like, damn. So my parents never fuck with me, huh? they just like the what's the word? When something's new, the novelty of my birth.
Damn.
Yeah, that's fake, guys.
I don't know how I would have survived, bro. If it was a girl, I would have been like, oh
I'm gonna kill myself.
I'm gonna kill myself,
or I'm gonna kill them.
I generally don't know how I would have handled if there was another younger like sister. I would have been like,
if I had been born a girl. If you fucking bitch. Is that my fucking skirt?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know.
They had you got two quinces? How the fuck? You fucking bitch. Just always like anything happens. Fuck you.
I don't know.
They let your boyfriend sleep over? You fucking bitch. I don't know. There's something so fun about saying that. Judy, if I had been born a girl, do you think we would be as close? Probably, right?
I think so, but I think we would fight more.
Ooh.
I feel like we would fight more.
You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
If I'm in the way that I am, I feel like we probably would have fought more.
And especially, like
especially because you're the younger, like, girl. Because again, it goes to the thing of like, because I think I
was the only girl.
They learn.
You stole that from me, you bitch.
No, yeah. No, because again, like what you said, like I think they would learn through me a little bit, and then I think that's where they would chill out a little bit more with the younger one. And I think I'd for sure be like so mad about that. I'd be like, bro, you don't know the shit I went through.
They bought you makeup. You bitch. I don't know why that's so funny to say. I just imagine after every sentence you would just call me a bitch. You bitch. Those of you out there with little sisters, tell me how it is. Is it like that? You guys just call each other bitches all the time?
Also, I feel like
I need to call Vanessa and ask.
I grew up. I feel like a lot of my friends that had sisters, I always felt like they were fighting every single time. Like, and that's like for me. I was just like, damn, is this what it's like to have a sister? And that's why I think if you were to be a girl, I think we would have been fighting for sure. Because that's kind of what I saw with like friends. I'm
literally about to call Vanessa up right now live on the show and be like, bro, tell me and Julia are on a podcast right now. Nah, I'm not gonna bother her. It would be funny though, but we have a lot of questions to get to.
And then, well, the other one I feel like we kind of talked about what it's thoughts on the same parent, each sibling raised differently.
I feel like that's redundant.
And then this one is actually from Vanessa. And she was like, you could replace...
Speaking of which...
If you could replace your sibling with a TV show sibling, which one would you pick?
Oh, that's a good question. Wow. What are the odds, though?
Yeah.
I was literally just talking about her.
What are the TV show siblings? So who would
There's
be?
Bart. The first one that comes to mind is Bart and Lisa. Then there's Ross and Monica.
Yeah.
Then there's...
I was thinking about Max and Ruby.
There's Max and Ruby. Oh, there's... What else is in TV and media?
Oh, isn't there from the Fantastic Four?
Oh yeah, Sue Storm and
the Torch or whatever.
Yeah, the Human Torch.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
They're siblings, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, okay. That's a good one. Damn, what the fuck? Why did you think of that?
I don't know.
Luke and Leia, Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot out there.
I'm trying to think of somebody.
I know my answer. I know my answer. I know my answer, but I'm gonna let you go first. I
can't think of other siblings though.
I know my answer.
Well, there's Carmen and fucking Max.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
What other show? With, what other show is there?
Who would you?
But like TV show. What other TV shows are there?
It's because I'm more of a movie guy. I'm not a TV guy.
Show.
Yeah, I'm not a TV guy.
I feel like there's one. I just can't remember.
Is it cartoon or is it like real life?
I think it's real life.
Just say it, bro.
I don't remember.
So what's your choice? We can't waste
from the ones I guess that we said. I guess the only one I can think of is Max and Ruby, honestly.
So you would replace me with Max?
Yeah, he's adorable.
That's crazy. You know what my answer is? I can't choose. I can't replace my sister.
Bruh. You said
crazy.
You had one.
It's good. That's good to know. Up. It's good to know.
Yeah.
It's good to know, though.
I'd replace you, bro, because you're mean to me.
How am I? You literally just said you would replace me. What the fuck?
Nah, yeah. Deep down, though, he's fucked up to me.
Deep down? So not actually. So in her fucking mind, I'm mean to her.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I wouldn't replace you for anyone. I'd be like, give me my sister.
Oh my God.
Why don't you believe me? Have I not always been kind to you?
You know what? I'll trade you for Mario.
You're fucking Luigi to me. All right. Was that all the questions?
You weren't gonna say it? Damn, that's crazy.
I deadass was not gonna say it.
That's crazy.
I deadass was like, when I said I made my choice, I said I literally was like Julie from Todo Chido.
Nah, I want another sibling.
That's crazy. When are you gonna get one? I'm leaving tonight.
I'm getting Max.
What does Max bring to the table that I don't? He doesn't talk.
He's funny. Yeah, that's exactly.
Oh.
He's not a yapper.
Well, you know what? Fuck you. I choose. Fucking. Damn, motherfucking. You're right. This is hard. I choose Ruby. You know why she's cool, and you know what she has that you don't. She's white.
That's fucked up, bro. That's fucked up.
She's white. She makes Mac stuff. She's the older sister.
She takes care.
She takes care of Mac. Something you've never done.
Okay, sure. Sure.
You know what else? She has a dope ass house.
In this economy, I can't afford a house, bro.
Well, that's why I chose Ruby. That's exactly why I chose Ruby.
All right, there you go.
That's fucked up. You said Mac. You said you like Max because he shuts the fuck up.
Yeah.
I didn't say that about you.
He doesn't talk, bro. That's just.
Do you have more questions?
Well, this is this isn't a sibling question anymore, but have you heard about so somebody was like how guys are proving why women would choose the bear. Have you heard about that?
So I only heard about it a little bit. You go ahead and tell me the context.
All right. So I guess I don't know where it started, but I was trying to look for it on TikTok, and I'm guessing that it came from this guy who was interviewing like women, and the prompt was, would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear? And I think at least from like 5 or 6 people that he asked, at least four of them said the bear. And some of them kept saying like, oh, men are scary, so I'd choose the bear. Or like another girl was like, well, the bear would only attack if you like tempt it, so I'd choose the bear. And then a lot of men were mad about that.
I'm about to get canceled. I'm about to say something.
A lot of men were mad about that because they were like, you'd rather like get fucking like killed or like mauled by a bear than to be stuck in a forest with a man or some shit like that. And a lot of men were just taking it to offense. They were like offended by it.
I'm one of them. I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking around.
They were like really offended by it or whatever.
I saw the views leaving once I said that. But you were saying,
you know what? Fuck this guy. But yeah. Thoughts, bro? Are you mad? Are you actually mad about it?
No, I'm not.
Do you understand why they chose?
Do I understand why? No, probably not completely, but I'm not mad about it either because I think that the perception that men have against women, is very scary itself. Mm-hmm. And I think that to invalidate women's opinions about how the bear is not as scary as humans, I don't agree with, especially because I grew up with a mom who, my family doesn't really believe in ghosts and all the paranormal stuff. And it's cool because it made me grow up liking like scary movies and stuff because my mom taught me never be afraid of fake shit, basically. And one of the things that I remember she would always say is, I'm not scared of ghosts and monsters because I know they're not real. I'm only scared of people because they're real and I know they can do some scary, dangerous shit. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I can't disagree because it literally goes against fundamentally how I was raised. Mm-hmm. But I think that there's a couple of layers to it. One, I think that's so funny. That's such like a girl-coded response just because like a bear would fuck you up. A bear would fuck you up. But I think that it's deep, bro. Yeah. It's deep. There's a social there's like a sociology like reason why I think you shouldn't just shit on these girls for it. I know a bunch of dudes are probably mad. But there's this idea of a fate worse than death. Mm-hmm. And being in the forest with a man is a fate that's worse than death. Yeah. I'm surprised men are mad and they're not more just astonished. with the fact that the perception of men in our society has gotten so fucking bad that women would rather get torn to shreds by a bear than spend a day with a fucking man in the middle of nowhere in the forest.
Yeah.
I think that's insane in and of itself, and I think that makes me want to be like, let's do better. Which I think is the solution. Like as men, like we do better. But I don't think it's anything to get mad about, and I don't want to shit on the woman who chose the bear, because I think that it's easy to point a finger and be like, man, it's because these women are dumb, or it's because these women are ignorant, instead of, you know, actually taking a step back, taking a deep breath, guys, and thinking about the deeper implication of what that means. Does it mean that women are seeing something in men in our society that we have yet to address because, you know, we just get fucking mad at a dumbass question? As a dude, you know, like I think about that. I think about the deeper repercussions of what that means. And I know it's funny because it's a little silly question, but everything's fucking deep, guys. I've been saying this since episode 1. Everything's fucking deep. Really think about it deep. Really dive deep into it. Go ahead, Julia.
Yeah, well, because I think, especially in that one video, because after that, I started just doing a lot more, because I think when I first heard about it, I think I saw it maybe like on Twitter or something. And then people started being like, oh, like men now are proving why women would choose the bear. And it was always some shit, because like a man was saying some dumb shit, or like that he would like, he hates women, or like he fucking is gonna do something to women or some shit. And like, and all the women would always comment like, now you guys are giving us even more of a reason to choose the bear or whatever. And I was like, I think, but in the original, at least, I don't know if that's the original video, but in the interview where he was asking them, a lot of them just kept saying like, men are scary, so I'd rather go with the bear. And it was kind of like, I think from there, I think men should have seen like, but why is it that she's saying that men are scary? Because 2 women, at least in that video, were like, men are scary, so I'd rather go with the bear. And it's kind of like they're not fully, I guess, understanding that part of it. And then there was another video that, like, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this girl who brought up like, I don't know if you guys, they were like, not even the bear is safe, because she was like, have you guys ever heard about the group of guys that like sexually assaulted the lizard, the monitor lizard or whatever? And he's like, not even the bear would be safe, like if it was like a whole bunch of guys and a bear. And so then they were just like, so for that, even more, I would choose the bear. And then I kept seeing like more videos, right, about like the whole man versus bear thing. And then there was a girl who was like, she's like, I think for sure, I think one of the things that a lot of women think about with this question is that they legit would rather get killed by a bear than be sexually assaulted. Like that's, they legit, that's what they're saying. They're saying that like they'd rather die and get killed by a bear than like having the whole traumatizing thing of being sexually assaulted by a man. And then she's like, yeah, like men are saying like, you know, there's a chance that you might get a good guy, right? But it's still like, that's still a risk. And women just are very much like, I do not trust them at all, you know? And I think that has a lot to say to like, you know, how like men have been treating women. And then I think one of the other things this girl was saying, she was like, well, no one, she started saying like a lot of things, right? If you're coming into mind about like, they're saying it because they don't want to be, you know, sexually assaulted or whatever. There was this girl who was like, no one will say I liked the bear attack. And then she was like, a bear wouldn't film it and send it to all his friends. And then she's like, if I survived the bear attack, I wouldn't see him at a family reunion. And like, it was just like those things of like, you know, she's basically telling you like,
yeah, I agree.
This is the reason why women would rather like go the other route, you know? And then,
a fate worse than death.
Yeah. And then, yeah, one of the ones was like, the worst thing the bear can do is kill me. So it's generally like those things, bro. Sheesh. And I think people, or at least specifically men who are getting mad about that, don't see how you said the actual deep part of it.
Yeah, well, it's a lack of emotional intelligence, which women seem to excel at. And I don't know for what reason, and I'm not going to go into it because I think it'll make it seem like it's like a general stereotype. Yeah. But women just seem to have more emotional intelligence. And I think for men, because they lack it. It's very easy for them to look past the immediate danger of um they'd rather choose, you know, like another dude. It's because I think dudes are putting themselves in the situation, and I think that they don't realize that the woman perspective is just different.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, like I know that there seems to be a lot of male frustration in nowadays, where men feel like, oh, you know, like we're being oppressed somehow by women. And I won't lie and say that there's obviously shitty women out there who shit on guys unreasonably, but I think that a lot of men have become really frustrated in their role in society and in their sexuality and all that all inclusive stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that because of that, they refuse to see the woman perspective. They just put their feet in the sand. They're like, I'm not fucking moving. I'm not going to empathize with you because you don't seem to empathize with me. But they lack the ability to look at the context historically and see why women are frustrated. And they lack the sociology classes to know that we live in a patriarchal society, which means that men run the world. And because of that, there's a huge contrast in our perspectives and the way that we experience the world. And I think to immediately chop this up as to like, man, fuck women. They're fucking stupid and they just hate us for no reason. I think all it does is continue to make problems like this prosper and really fester in people because men refuse to just see women's sides and continue to gaslight their feelings. Because if a lot of women genuinely feel like they would choose the bear over the dude, like genuinely no bullshit, not to be funny, then I think that's a problem. And I think that's a problem that should be properly addressed. And the fact that a lot of men don't want to, I think is a huge ironic consequence to this question even being asked, because it's ironic because like you said, they're basically proving why women would choose the bear. And that's all I have to say about it.
But do you feel that you have a little more of, I guess, that understanding because you grew up with a sister, or like you have, I guess, how would I say, like I don't know, I guess like you're more open to that type of conversation.
Yeah, but I don't think it's you don't have to have a sister in order to treat women like a human. You could just treat women as humans. You could, and at least me, I don't know what it's like not to have a sister, but I like to believe that seeing humans as humans is just something that anybody with any form of intelligence can do.
At least having like a good relationship with your sister. Do you think that's why you have, I guess, a little more like you can understand a little bit more of like this type of prompt, right?
Yeah, because I often find in my life, using my own experience, that people who often hate the other gender is usually because they have a lack of experience with that gender, which can mean a lot of things. Either they didn't have their mother or their father, or they didn't have a brother or sister. I often find that people who lack that familial perspective often end up having very strong opposing opinions about the opposite gender. And that includes even having someone who is like a mom or a dad, but yet they're abusive. I think you grow up having negative feelings towards that gender. Because I've seen it with women and men. If they grew up and their mom or their dad was very bad towards them, they grew up having that perception. For women, obviously they're like, fuck men. For a lot of men, they're like, fuck women. All they're good for is to be objectified. I was gonna be very vulgar, but I'm not gonna be very vulgar. But yeah, if they have a bad relationship with their mama, they're gonna be like, women, fuck you. Like they're all they're dumb. They only use us for money. You know. I'm not gonna go into more. You guys can use your imagination as to what else someone would say. But I do think that every human benefits from having a healthy perspective of the opposite gender.
No, yeah, I feel like for sure. But yeah, that was one of the things, because I was like, that shit was like, at least when, because I first saw it and then I didn't like think that much of it, and then I did start seeing like people comment about it, and then somebody like sent us the question or the prompt, and I was kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna look more into it, and then that's when like I found like even more of like the reasoning as to it, and I don't think they they fully meant like for it to go as that crazy as I guess it kind of went.
Yeah, the bear
I think it
thing.
was just more like a question, you know, like
Yeah.
when people do the street interviews and they just ask. And I think it just turned into this huge
Yeah.
thing because I think for sure, like how you said, I think there's just certain things that have been happening that, and then eventually somebody's like, now you know why I would choose the bear or
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, it's kind of interesting because it speaks for this deeper thought that I know exists, is that if you look at anything that gains a lot of attention, whether that's in pop culture or in politics,
Mm-hmm.
you often find the reason it gains the most attention is because it reflects something about our current society.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say that about the bear question. You could
Yeah.
say that about like even the Drake and Kendrick beef.
Yeah.
It's popular because it says something, and it speaks deeply about our humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds funny. It sounds funny, but you could say it doesn't just relate to the Drake and Kendrick beef. It relates to anything that becomes popular. If you look for it, there's a small glimmers of your reflection.
Yeah.
And if you really, really pay attention to them, you can learn a lot about what it's saying about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because anything you find interesting is basically because it some way touches you and then reflects right back at you something that like you're not you're feeling like I like if you're this is like I'm serious, like any exercise, like think about anything, think about what genres or anything that you're into. Why are you into them? Like think about, even if you fucking hate watch shit, why do you hate watch that shit? What does that say about you? Like it doesn't have to be something negative, it doesn't have to be something bad, but I think that people are unaware that whatever drives your interest, it's because it's reflecting back at you something that you feel inside.
Yeah.
So it's deep, bro. Is that what you had?
Yeah.
So I had a couple of things, but since we're already in the latter half of our pod, I'm only gonna save it to one thing. Julie, I want to talk to you about this because I think this one relates really well to you. But since it is graduation season, woo, congrats,
Shout out.
guys! Shout out
Shout
to
out.
everyone graduating out there. I not only wanted to talk about post grad depression, but I wanted to specifically aim it towards our audience because a lot of us are Mexican American or Latinos. I'm not gonna exclude you guys if you're just Latino. Um, but one of the things that Latinos forget after they graduate is the lack of independence that they come home to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that becomes such a difficult question. It becomes such a difficult topic that people need to address it and be ready for it, because it's not just a post grad depression, but I think people find out that when they come back home, unfortunately, because of our culture, they're still treated as if they were children, despite these formative years of transformation that they may have experienced in college. They're still treated as if they were back to square one as children. Yeah. What's some advice that you would give? Because I would assume you probably felt that too, right?
Yeah. I think, well, for sure, because I mean, I was in San Francisco for 4 years and I had roommates and stuff, but I was there by myself. So I had to like cook, clean for myself. And then coming back, I think, well, not only was it like the post grad, but then pandemic kind of happened. So I was even more stuck of just being at home. And I think it for sure was hard. And I think there was times where I felt like I wanted to just go back and like not be here, I guess, because of the fact of like I felt like I didn't have, I guess in a way, like my freedom anymore. Like I didn't have my independence anymore. But I think one of the things now that I've learned is for sure that I guess not that I communicated to my parents, but I think there's just certain steps that I started taking with them where I felt like I was showing them to kind of like, because I still, I mean, I live with them, right? And I think I was starting to have kind of like my boundaries with them. And I think there was like certain compromises that I think we started just having on our own. And I think that's what really helped me, especially to kind of just have that thing with them. And I think for sure, I think what would have been better was to communicate maybe those things to them. And I don't think I ever really did that with them. But I think that would have been for sure something that probably would have been helpful if I would have done it from the get-go of like communicating like, hey, like this is where I'm at, like this is what's happening with me. And I think for me, I think that was the thing that I was lacking, is that I didn't communicate those things of like, because what's harder was the fact that I was living here, and then I was living with them, and then it was also like trying to find a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think even straight after college, when like I had already established something for myself somewhere else, and coming back and kind of starting all over was for sure the hard part. And I think for sure the fact that like I didn't know anyone here, like because I was gone for like 4 years, and I think being in this household sometimes was hard because I think they didn't understand what was going on, like me doing my job searches and like why it was so hard to like even find a job or like a full time, right? Like it's really competitive. Um, but I think for sure one of the things that I would say is just having that open communication with them. And I think for me, because I was going back to my old habits of being so closed off, where I was like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to say anything, what's going on or whatever. And I think eventually it was kind of like, I sort of started telling them like what was going on, and like it's just like hard. And I think they started understanding that side of it, of like it's just hard to find, especially if I want something specific. Like if I want to work in something specific, I think it was just really hard to get in certain industries, you know? And I think for sure it's hard at first, but I think for my own experience, I think it does get better. Like I don't think you should really, I guess, lose any hope in like finding something for yourself. I think for me, I was very just fortunate that like I still had like the connections and networks that I had even in like my college. Nobody was here. Like nobody that I knew lived down here. Everybody was from like NorCal. And so for me, it generally was just me starting all over. And I think that was the hard part, because every time every time something happened, I was like, I wish I was back in San Francisco. Like, I wish I never came back. But I think now that I've been here for a while, I think it is something that like it does get better if you really want to like do something for yourself, you know. And like I mean I did take, you know, like I tried to take any job. Like I took my retail jobs, like I tried to do like all those things, and like I wasn't happy in those things. And I think again now, because of the fact of where I'm at, and I can openly communicate now with my parents of like, this is where I'm at, this is where my career is. It's not maybe like a full time or anything, but this is where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think again, like going back to the conversation where I had with my mom, well, with our parents, of like the way I was feeling on certain things, and I finally was able to like open up to them about it. Mom actually told me that she was actually happy of like where I'm at with like my jobs and my career. And like it was, I guess, a crazy feeling, because I felt very much like at times it felt like she was sometimes shaming me for not being where I was supposed to be. And I think she maybe said it like once. And I think from there, every single time I didn't get a job, I always kept thinking about that, where she was like, why aren't you working? Why aren't you doing this? And I felt like she was always judging me. But then this last time when we had the conversation, and even a little bit before that, I got over it. I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like I'm very fortunate as to where I'm at. Like, I'm gonna just keep waiting and seeing if I can find something else for myself, as in like my jobs, right? And then I eventually had this situation that happened, and I finally had to tell my parents about like some shit that was going on with me. And then that's when she told me, and she was like, I'm really proud and happy as to where you are with your career. She's like, because you're really doing what it is that you want to do. Like, and that's not meaning like in the industry. She's just saying like, you're doing whatever you want. Like, you're doing whatever you want. And I'm really proud that you're doing whatever you want. Like, you're not letting anybody else affect that part. And I think that would have been a lot more useful earlier. But again, I think that was the fact because I never communicated anything to them when I moved back. And I think that's why for me, I didn't do that early on. And I think that's what people should do early on, is communicate. Because I feel like, I know it's hard, again, like how we said, like the whole confrontation, the whole thing, especially because it's your parents, right? Like you don't want to disappoint them or anything. And especially after graduating, right? Like that's the biggest thing for yourself, because like, at least for me, it was like the biggest thing, because I think for me, it was always just like, I need to graduate college and that's it. Like, that was my biggest goal that I wanted to do in, I guess, my life. And after that, I had no idea what I was going to do. But I wanted to do that because I was like, my parents have sacrificed a lot for us, and I didn't want to be here and not have a degree for them, you know? And so then that's why, like, for me, like, that was one of the biggest things. But then after that, it was like me now trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, because it was always like, I felt like I was mostly living for them because of the things that they did. And then now that I graduated, it was doing stuff for myself. Mm-hmm. But again, I didn't have, I guess, that open communication with them of like how I felt. And I think that's what I really struggled with a lot. But I think now it's a lot better, especially after like mom told me what she told me, where she was like, I'm really proud of you and like what you're doing. And so then from there, I was kind of like, okay, like I'm fine where I'm at, and like wherever it kind of takes me is going to take me. And again, and then eventually, I mean, I also did therapy. So,
yeah.
But I think, for that, I think it for sure is hard. Like, but at the end of it, I feel like you can and you will get somewhere where you want to be. But I think, again, it's like if you have, I guess, and I think it's more of like if you have a good relationship also with like your family, you know, and I think that's what was also kind of helpful. But I think what I was struggling with a lot was that I was getting back to my old habits where I just didn't want to. I was just like, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, what I was going to say is like, I guess talking to a bunch of people who have kind of shared in your experience, the biggest advice that I can give Latinos coming back home from college is to just stand your ground. Because not only do you need to remind your parents who you are, but you need to remind yourself who you are. Yeah. You're not the same kid you were when you left. You're a completely new person, and you're a grown adult. And the biggest thing you can tell yourself is that you are a different person.
Which is why I was like, I think setting, I guess, like those kind of like those boundaries of like, you know, and again, like I think I also have a certain understanding that because we're in the same household, she's going to worry, or like they're going to worry, right? They're going to know, or they're going to want to know your whereabouts or whatever. And I feel like for that, at first, I think it was a very like annoying thing for me, and maybe sometimes it bothers me, but I think eventually I started being like, well, like I get like I can't fully understand them because I'm not a parent, you know, like I can't fully understand their emotion, but I can feel that it is a very like deep and like super big thing for them of like knowing that, especially because you still see them a lot. Like if I were living somewhere else, I know for sure they'd be worried, but I think it would be different because we're not in the same household. But I think because we are, I'm kind of like, okay, like this is fine. And then I think the other part that I think about is that like, I feel like we have very caring parents where I feel like I try to take that as more of being like thankful of that, because I think I would say that there's certain people who like their parents don't really care about them.
Yeah, they don't have that privilege.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I kind of I try to be a little bit more appreciative of that.
For sure.
Because I'm kind of like, I think that also tells a lot of like, no matter what, like, I think my parents are going to be there for me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's my other part of it, is that like, it's helped me have that good relationship with them now. For sure it was hard in the beginning when I first moved back, because I was very much in the, no, I don't want to do this anymore, like all these things. But I think for sure it is standing your ground on certain things, and again having that communication with them. Because in the beginning I was just like, they would do something and I wouldn't say anything. But again, that's me also going back to that old habit of like me still being the little kid and not telling them, or like me being very like holding that grudge towards them. And that's not me being an adult anymore. That's me doing childish things now of like me not being an adult, you know, and like having that communication with them.
Yeah, you trip yourself up.
Yeah. And so I think those were like some of the things. And I think it's especially hard when you're still living with them. I think when I don't know, I mean, I've never moved out yet, but I feel like I think it would be different for sure once you're not in the same household. But I think because you are, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
But it is for sure like standing your ground and kind of having that reminder for them and also for yourself. Like again, like it's like falling into those old habits isn't that great because again, you're having that parent and child thing instead of like the parent and the child adult. Now it's like I don't know how to explain it a little more, but it's just that. It's just like having that communication with them, and like standing your ground, setting your boundaries, and just trying to figure out what you guys can do together to have that relationship of like you're an adult now.
Yeah, you gotta have that John Cena mentality. Never give up.
Yeah.
Never give in. Hustle, loyalty, respect, guys. I was kind of shocked you had so much to say. I was like, she's probably just gonna say like one thing, but you actually had a lot to say, Julie. I appreciate that. I appreciate you giving me a perspective, an insight into your mind. I really appreciate that. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this podcast. It actually went longer than I thought it would. Wow, guys. It turns out me and Julie actually really do like each other. We really are siblings. We fuck with each other.
Do we though?
Is it all facade? Is it for the cameras? When we turn them off for me, all right, Julie, get the fuck out of here.
I know.
Yeah.
We don't even talk to each other.
I guess no one will ever know. No one will ever know.
No one will ever know.
Yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed this little yap session between me and my sister Julie. It was really cool. Shit, we're gonna have to say, where's the Patreons? If they're not here, we will find an alternative way of saying them. Brandon, where do you put them? Where do you put them, bro?
I thought the paper was on the table.
Was it? Is it on his desk? Is it? So they're not here. So I am gonna have to record it later. But shout out to all the Patreons who hold us up. I really love you guys. I have no idea where it is.
He took it. Or maybe it's in the basket. The gray one on the floor. No,
there's nothing there. All right. Well, either way, we'll give you guys a shout out. Don't even trip. I love you guys. You guys hold us up. If you guys want to be a Patreon, go ahead. It's always in our bio. I hope you guys have a wonderful, splendid day. I hope we gave you some form of either insight, entertainment, or a laugh. I love all you guys. And next week, we will have Brandon back on. I hope you guys have a beautiful day and a beautiful week. And we'll see you guys later.
bye.